Hey, welcome to another great and incredible episode of the Real Deal podcast. I'm your host, as always, Courtney Harden. Glad to be back with another incredible episode in my Women in Football series. I have a returning guest. As we were talking, it's been a little bit. She's been very busy, so I'm so glad to catch up with her. I think like we were saying, I think the last time we did a show or we met in person, it was back in Super Bowl 24. So yeah, so it's been a couple of years, but so glad to have her on. So I'm not gonna keep her waiting. But before we get started, hit my music. Let's get it. All right. Once again, welcome to another great episode of the Real Deal podcast. Women in Football series continues. I'm your host, as always, Courtney Harden. Happy Sunday as well. It is August 16th. So I hope everyone is enjoying the weekend. It's rainy here in Philly today. Feels like fall. So I know football season's right around the corner, so the weather's getting ready to change. But I want to continue to have some summer, so I'm going to enjoy this last month, end of the month and beginning of September. But yeah, so hope everyone enjoyed their weekend. But you can follow the show on all the podcast platforms, whether it is Apple Podcast, Spotify, YouTube, BS3 Network, BS3TVLive.com. And you can follow me on all the social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Blue Sky, TikTok. Think that's all of them. So yes, if you Google The Real Deal with Courtney Harden, get all the previous episodes and follow me on those platforms as well. All right, well, let me bring in my guest. Like I said, she's been on the show multiple times. Glad to catch up with her and on her busy schedule. So it was great before football season starts. I can nail her down here, but it's so good to have her back on the show. I have Carita Parks, founder and CEO of Double Take Sports, also Parks PR, sports journalist with a PR lens. She does NFL, NBA, WNBA, and much more, golf and much more. So the Mystics, the Commanders, the Wizards, and all everything around. So Carita, welcome to the show. Really
Thank
appreciate it.
you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm so glad to have you back on. Thank you for coming back on. I really appreciate it. Wanted to highlight you because you do such tremendous work. Anyone that follows Carita,
Thank
she is everywhere, interviewing, hosting, doing all types of things. And I'm always happy, excited to have people that's been on the show, but just genuine people and doing their thing and doing great things when it comes to not just sports but storytelling and all those things too. So I'm so glad to have you back on.
Thank you. That was a great introduction.
Oh, yes. I mean every bit of that too.
Always good to be back. Good to see you. Like you
Yep.
said, it's been a while. So glad we get to link up and talk some shop.
Yeah. So it was good to catch up with you as well. So like I said, I see you from afar, just doing your thing, just moving, getting those interviews. You're in the media scrums and getting those exclusive and asking those. I love the things the questions you ask and getting answers from the athletes or the coaches and things like that. It's always fun to, like I said, to see good people doing great things. So
Thank you.
continued success for you as well, for sure.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, let's get started. How's everything been going for you first and foremost? How's your summer been besides the busyness, but how's the
Yeah.
summer been and how things has been for you for in 2026?
I mean, besides being busy in a
Yeah.
good way, things have been good. I can't complain. Just trying to find new ideas and
Yeah.
tell different kinds of stories, just really trying to challenge myself to go to another level. So that's really what I've been focused on 2026, trying to also have a little fun,
Yeah.
um, go out of town. Just had a birthday that passed last month. So I really took some intentional time to
Okay.
enjoy myself and get some rest and It's been good. I can't complain.
No doubt. Well, happy belated birthday for
Thank you.
sure. And it's always good to get that some fun in between of what we
Yes.
do and
Balance. You
everything.
need some balance.
You got to have balance. You have
Yeah.
to have balance. You don't want to burn yourself out. You enjoy what you do, but you also have life outside of that too. And so always great to get rest. Enjoy those days of your birthdays and things like that with family and friends and loved ones and close ones. So glad you got to enjoy some of that before all the everything busy really gets busy with football. And he said we're in the middle of the WNBA that you
Mhm.
cover as well, and also the NBA will be right around the corner. So
Right around the
it's
corner.
going to be a lot happening. So yeah, so I'm glad you got a little chance to enjoy yourself, enjoy life in general. So
Thank you.
all right, well, let's get started. Let's talk some Ravens. Let's get into Ravens since it is football season,
Mhm.
and you like I said, you do a tremendous job covering them and everything too. All the updates I see what you're doing. So the Ravens smacked my Eagles in preseason
That's true.
yesterday. Yeah, they shut them down for sure. I
Mhm.
watched the first half, and I don't take a lot of stock in preseason, but
I know preseason can be rough to
it
watch.
can be
Like if
rough
it
to watch.
wasn't the Ravens, I would not
Mhm.
be watching.
Right, right. Yes, yes. So I watched a little bit just to get a idea and just
Mhm.
we're just fans in general too.
Right.
But what was your takeaway of yesterday's game? When the Ravens, just like you said, they came in and started slow. Both teams did start slow, but they won 24-7 yesterday. But what was your takeaways from the game yesterday?
I think that what we saw, even though to your point, it's the preseason, is that defensively, the Ravens were able to with the backups because it was mostly
Hmm.
backups, a few
Yeah.
starters in the beginning, but the starters
Yep.
that played didn't play for a long time. So I think from the perspective of offensive and defensive depth, I think we saw those players really step up. And for the Ravens coming in with a new coach and just a new everything, honestly,
Yeah.
they didn't look disorganized, right?
Right.
Because that could be, I mean, they've been in training camp, but a preseason game is just different. And so they didn't look disorganized. They didn't have a lot of penalties, so they were pretty disciplined. The offense was vanilla, but they were moving the ball.
Yeah, they were.
They were moving the ball. Defense was making stops. Held the Eagles to those 7 points, almost shut them out. So I think that the Ravens showed flashes of positivity, which is what the fans want to see at this point coming from Harbaugh. You don't really know what you're
Yeah.
getting in a new head coach and a new offensive and defensive staff until you see it in a game. And so I think that it was pretty positive. It was also positive for a lot of their rookies
Yep.
that were drafted. I mean, none of them had a bad game from
Yeah.
what I can recall. None of them had a bad game. So it looks like they drafted well and are putting things together. You never know what it's really going to look like until the regular season, but I think you can walk away from this first preseason game feeling positive about what you might see going into the regular season.
I like that. Yeah, I think when you said when you're playing, it was like I said, it was backups. It was the twos and the threes mostly. And he said sprinkle of starters. Even on the Eagles side, the same thing. A lot of vanilla offense, but you want to see positive outcome. You want to see, where's the improvements and things like that. And as you said with the Ravens, new probably new system, new
Mhm.
office identity,
Knew everything.
defense, everything. Right, right. So new coaching and
Mhm.
everything too. So you definitely want to see, progression at this moment and
Yes.
with the season and everything too. So it was a dominant performance from the Ravens as well. I was looking, they outgained the Eagles 440 to 159. They control possession as well and held them to 6 first downs. That's very positive. They shut them out most of the game as well till the end. So it was good positive signs for
Mhm.
the Ravens heading into the next preseason game and things like that. So
Right.
so you said you've been covering them, you've been at training camps and everything too. What's one thing about this Ravens team that you've seen so far that you think fans will be the most excited about?
I think they can get excited about potentially because
Mhm.
it's hard to like see, but I think that there is going to be some excitement with this offense. I
Yeah.
believe it's going to be very different. If Declan Doyle is everything that everyone says he is, I believe we're going to see an exciting offense, something that, and this is one thing the players have echoed. They feel like Doyle is playing to their strengths.
Mm.
And especially with Lamar Jackson, he needs
Right.
someone who is going to really play to his strengths and allow him to shine. I mean, he wants to cook. He's the type of person who, if they have a 20-point lead, he wants to keep it up, which I
Mm.
don't blame him. He never wants to take his foot off the brake. So I think he needs a coach like that. But I do think that you're going to see a lot more excitement with this offense. I mean, Jacoby Lane, who is probably fighting more for like a number 3 wide receiver role at this point. I think he's going to have a bigger role in this offense than maybe people thought coming in because he's just been having a stellar camp. He
Yeah.
carried that over to the game. So I think he's going to be something really exciting for this offense too, to go along with Zay Flowers and Rashad Bateman. I wasn't too sure how the tight ends were going to shake out. I still have to see more from them because the only continuous tight end is Mark Andrews.
Yep.
But Matt Hibner, he did very well yesterday. So I think like the tight ends should be okay. But yeah, I just think overall you're going to see a much more exciting offensive system. And especially with Lamar, I mean, fans want to see Lamar go off. And I think he has a coach that is willing to let him do that.
Yeah, and then there's always, when it comes to the Ravens, you think Lamar Jackson, you think, okay, look, where is this going now as they continue to keep, progressing with him and things like that. So, it's always the talk with Lamar, as you know for sure. Lamar is
Yeah,
always the talk of, where he ranks, and and then last season it was just one of those years he got injured. I think he played injured, and even when he
he
came
absolutely
back,
did.
he was playing injured, and then he was trying to get back into it as well. It even went down to the wire before, they didn't make the playoffs last year, but they went right down to the end, to the last game, last possession against the Steelers, of course, of their rival. And it was just one of those things, just, he's coming off of probably should have been the MVP the year before.
Mhm.
And now, now his questions, is he gonna, resign long term? Is he gonna do all these things? So as you said, they're gonna cater the offense probably to his strengths again, and we might see that Lamar from a couple of years ago. And this is just coming, like you said, coming off a guy that, like say, just wants to cook, just wants to do his
Mhm.
thing and everything too. We know how good he is, how great he is, and everything. So, like you said, those expectations now for Lamar. How do you feel that will he perform? How will he perform this season?
Well, there's an interesting little stat that has come out when it relates to Lamar. Every time he's gotten a new offensive coordinator, he's had an MVP season.
Mm,
The
yeah,
first year under a new coordinator.
yeah,
So, I mean, we don't know if that's going to happen, but it is a very interesting stat is that when he gets a new coordinator, he has the MVP season. But of course, I mean, expectations for Lamar go beyond that this season. I mean, every season the expectation is Lamar will make it to a Super Bowl, but I think that that's even more of an expectation this year because of the fact that they moved away from Harbaugh, particularly
mm,
to put Lamar in a position to win a Super Bowl. And so obviously that is where this team is trying to get this year. That is the goal. And I mean, as you know, every time Lamar is brought up, he is always measured by the fact that he hasn't made it to a Super Bowl. He hasn't won a
yeah,
Super Bowl, right? And so that is the expectation. Like, let's just be real.
yeah.
That's the reason they went a completely different direction with their staff and moved on from a coach that they had for 18 seasons because they have a goal for this team to make it to the Super Bowl. Now there will be some patience because of the fact that it is a new coach.
Yep.
When the owner Steve Bisciotti talked right after the firing of John Harbaugh, he said he's going to have some patience. with the new coach when it comes to getting to a Super Bowl. But at the end of the day, the way the Ravens have come up short in these past 3 years, went to the AFC Championship, had that game at home and lost.
Yeah.
Had a stellar season and did not show up in the same way in that championship game. The following year, go to the playoffs, heartbreaking loss to the Bills.
Yep.
And then, as you mentioned last year, you have a chance to go to the playoffs. Even though you had a bad season, you still
Right.
in a position to potentially go to the playoffs, and it was a bad field goal. As
Yep.
DeAndre Hopkins said, they were 3 yards wide right from making it to the playoffs.
Yep.
So, I mean, it's been some heartbreaking losses for them these past 3 years. So they kind of need a fresh start and just a fresh path to the playoffs and hopefully a Super Bowl.
Yeah, I think that's always been the expectations for Lamar himself. Not even just the Ravens, the Lamar himself,
Absolutely.
and fairly or unfairly, as you said, that's just the way it is. Because you said he's a 2-time MVP winner, and he's plays at such a high level. To me, he is so. I mean, he's just good. We both know that. He gets. I think he gets unfairly criticized all the time,
All the time.
and even now, even when they rank the tiers of the QBs, I love Mike Sandel. I had him on the show last week. He has the QB tiers, and he interviews 50 coaches, executives, and things like that. And they had Lamar in tier 1 the last couple of years, but yes, a slip up of this season, but that was mostly injury for one, and now he's in tier 2, the top of tier 2. So it's always fluctuates with Lamar as well. But like you said, you brought that stat of the last time the 2 times he's had a new offensive coordinator, he's an MVP. So I think he's gonna have a chip on his shoulder, and I think he's gonna play. He's gonna just play very, very well, MVP caliber play, quarter QB play, and try to lead the Ravens to the destiny they want to go get to.
Absolutely, and he's got the weapons to do it.
Yes, and we can't forget King Henry. Still got Derrick Henry
in
that
backfield.
Yeah, that backfield still there. That man still is cooking. That man still can hold his own as one of the top running backs in the league. So I think offensively will be fine. On the defensive side, what's your expectation on the defensive side? I know that's always a talk too. They have their struggles stopping teams from scoring and things like that, but changes and things. So what are you seeing early on for the defense on the defensive side?
Well, my expectations, and I think the expectations are probably higher for the defense because of the fact that Jesse Minter, one of the reasons he was hired is because he's a defensive mind, and they wanted to get back to that Ravens defense where you like Ray Lewis, Terrell Suggs, like I'm talking about that version of the Ravens defense. They want to get back there. And that is one of the reasons that Jesse Minter was hired. Then they brought in Anthony Weaver, who has that old Ravens DNA from being a player and also was a coach at one point and, went to other destinations and came back. So to me, the pressure is actually higher on the defensive side, in my opinion. But I do expect, I expect it to be a much better defense this year. The secondary was more of a problem than the defense. The secondary and the edge rushers. But they have Trey Hendrickson now.
Yes.
And that changes the game. They have some good young guys behind him in Tavius Robinson, Mike Green, even Zion Young. But they never had like that anchor last year. And that is what Trey Hendrickson brings. So that's going to be a major key. They brought Calais Campbell back. He may not play a ton. He'll play a decent amount of time on that defensive line, but just having that veteran presence in the locker room and on that defensive line. Last year, they unexpectedly lost Nnamdi Madubuike. And that was, they talked about it at the end of the season. That was a huge shift for that defensive line. Like, they just never really got back to who they were once they lost him. So there's that. And then for the secondary, That was a huge problem last year. And now you have Kyle Hamilton in a position with them bringing in Jalen Hawkins. You got Nate Wiggins coming back for his third season. I'm talking about the safeties and the corners.
Yeah.
Then you have Malachi Starks. He's going into his second year. It's a lot of talent back there.
Yeah.
But with Kyle Hamilton, he should be back into a role where he can move everywhere. And that is where he thrives, is when he can be that Swiss Army knife. And so the talent is there. There's a new sheriff in town who's going to be calling the defense. Jesse Minter's going to do that. And so I think that you will see this defense be better than last year. Now, to be determined if they get back to that older like DNA, but I think they will be better this season than they were last year.
Yeah, I agree. Great breakdown. I 100% agree, because I think they have, like you said, they on that side of the ball have the higher expectations, because that'll I think make or break their season moving forward. With that division is winnable. It's very winnable.
Yeah, it is.
Because the Steelers, they'll be in the mix. We don't know how the Bengals, it's always the defense and Joe Burrow's health. The Browns, they're trying to figure out things, new coaching staff themselves, trying to figure out their QB situation as well. So the Ravens, on paper probably should be the favorites out of that division. But as you said, you never know till they start playing. So it will be patience, as you said, and everything. So got a couple of shout outs here as well. Nathan Ramasandra from Nathan Sports Rush. He says he met you at Super Bowl. See, he said last time during Super Bowl week.
Too.
Yes. So great.
I catch up with a lot of y'all at Super Bowl.
Yeah, that's how it is. It seems like it. Super Bowl Media Row Week is always was fun and everything. Oh yeah, today is happy birthday, Nathan too. He says so. Thanks for tuning in on your birthday.
Oh yeah, happy birthday to you too.
Yeah, good to see football preseason back. We're excited as well. He says Carita is the best in the business. After that breakdown, if you guys don't know, you know now, and everything too. So he said, keep it a fantastic work. Yeah, we appreciate it. Appreciate the comments, and if you got any questions for Carita on this time, let us know as well. So all right, so we broke down the Ravens. Wanted to ask you about, so like you said, you covered the Mystics. The Hawks got some expectations this year as well. Mystics are in the playoff race in the WNBA. They balling out right now. And in the Ravens, who are you, or what team is is the city most excited about?
Gosh, that's like a hard
question.
So to put it in perspective, when it comes to the Ravens, because they're out in Baltimore, obviously there's like a lot of excitement around them, because they're not really in direct competition with the Panthers.
Yeah, true.
So there's a lot of excitement around the Ravens out in Baltimore, especially with this new look, everything. Everybody's just really excited to see what product that is going to be on that field when game one starts. So there is that. But they've also been ramping up for a lot longer. So, we've felt the excitement for a couple weeks now with like training camp and things like that. Now, coming back to like the DC region in particular with like the Mystics and the Wizards.
Yep.
This city loves their football, but DC is like a basketball city though. You know what I mean? Like, and right now it just feels like there's so much excitement and new energy, because the Mystics, to your point, Mystics are balling out. They're in the playoff race, and then the Wizards got the number 1 pick and were able to get AJ DeBonsa. So it really feels like DC basketball is starting to turn a corner. And if you get these teams going at the same time, it's going to be lit in the DMV. Okay.
Yes.
So it's hard to pick which one is most exciting, because both of them really are. And I mean, even with the Mystics, I don't think anybody, just because they were coming in as I think they were the second youngest team in the WNBA.
Yeah. Yes.
I do feel like most people, including myself, expected them to take a little longer to find their
Like
chemistry.
next year, yeah.
Yeah, but
Hmm.
no, like they are on a roll right now. I mean, they had two tough losses to the Aces on the road, but they beat the
Yeah.
Aces at home a couple weeks before that. They were back on the scene yesterday and they got the win. So those girls, they're tough. They're tough. And so I'm excited to see if they can make it to the postseason. I think that'll be, I mean, it's been a while since the Misses have made it to the postseason. So that'll be great. And then just seeing what the Wizards are able to do if everyone can stay healthy. They've
Yeah.
got AJ, they've got Anthony Davis, Trey Young, plus the young core that they've been developing over these last couple years.
Yep.
So I'm like, yes, my basketball teams are coming
Yes.
together.
Yes, absolutely. And then you're right. There's excitement in the DC area, the DMV area. As you said, with the Mystics and the way they're balling right now. Currently, they're 20-14,
Yes.
and they're in seventh place. And looks like they got a pretty clear path to make the playoffs. Get that,
Yeah.
I mean, it's jumbled from three to the eighth seed because they're only separated by 3 games as of right now. So it is interesting to the Mystic. Like I'm with you. I thought they would improve, but I felt like they might be a year away because they're
Agreed.
continuing to keep developing their young core now and their young talent. But like you said, hey, they like, hey, no, we're here now. We're gonna make some noise and we're gonna be a problem. Um, in the playoffs. And so we'll see how that turns out. But it's exciting, exciting. They're like I said, they're a year ahead of schedule, and they're here. So I love seeing how they're balling. And you said the Wizards. On top of that, getting AJ, as you said, Trey Young and AD. I know AD. That's always the question of staying healthy, as
Yes.
well. He's always the big question mark. But they kept him. I don't feel like his trade's coming at all. I know the Wizards, I don't know if it's the president or owner said, we're not trading Anthony Davis, not taking any calls Anthony Davis. I feel like they need to
That was
keep
the
Anthony Davis
GM.
GM, yes. So they need to keep Anthony Davis at least for this year coming up and
Mhm.
see what you got. He said they shut him down when they got the trade. And because he was hurt and
And there
everything
was no
too.
need for him to even
And
play.
no need to play. They were, they were pretty bad. So they were like, let's just shut Trey Young down. Let's
Mhm.
just come back next year. They got the number 1 pick. Let's see what they can do. So I'm sure there's a big buzz. And then in the East too, the East is going to be wide open, especially that
Mhm.
bottom half. The East is going to be pretty wide open. There's been some changes. The Bronze are in Philly. That's
Giannis
a
is
big
in
change.
Miami.
Miami, Giannis in Miami. The Knicks just came off they're coming off a
Mhm.
championship. So there's some changes. So the Wizards could get in. So we'll see how it all turns out. But yeah, I know when I asked you that question, I wanted to see
I
where you
know.
would go.
Like this is like one time. I mean,
Yeah.
there's been times where I could pick one, but this
Yes.
is the time where it's hard to pick one. I mean,
Yeah.
they're all in very exciting times.
Yes, absolutely. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun, and I know you covering it all, so it's gonna be a lot of fun. Just to, at least I love the basketball aspect of it too, just to see the excitement of teams and say, okay, let's see if the Wizards can get back to when they had John Wall, when they had Bradley Beal, that era,
Yeah.
the most recent that era where they can get some excitement back in the DC area. So we'll see
Mhm.
how that all turns out. All right, just got a couple more before I let you go.
Yeah.
Like you said, you covered, the Ravens and you said the Mystics and the Wizards and others for a while. What has changed most about, those teams, particular media environment access over the years?
I mean, they're all very different. So with
Yeah.
the Ravens, not much has changed. They are a very straight and narrow team. There's not
Mm,
a lot of people that get in. There's not a lot of people that leave.
yeah.
So
Right.
like you
Right.
kind of see a lot of the same people all the time. I mean, there are some changes, but it's usually not with outlets. It might just be faces, because people come and go. But I would say their media landscape is probably the most predictable. When it comes to the Wizards, since I started covering them, theirs changed because when I started, it was like kind of end of John Wall. He
Yeah.
That's when he had his Achilles injury and he
Mm,
was out, and then
yep.
eventually he was traded. But there was so much media at that time. And now over the years, it has definitely, and obviously because they haven't been as good as they were back then. So the less good they were, the less media you started to see. So that media room has changed quite a bit. However, with AJ, now you're seeing a pat media room, right?
Yeah.
So that's probably been the biggest shift with them. And then Mystics kind of similar. Well, the WNBA has always been different because, as you know, like finding, actually, I'll change my assessment of the WNBA. So, as you know, with the WNBA, they were always fighting for coverage, right?
Yes.
But as
Yeah.
the years have gone on, it's become more attractive to cover the WNBA. So I feel like that's the biggest change there is now you see more of a variety of outlets there,
Right. Yep.
people wanting to now get in on the whole women's basketball, women's sports wave. And also, now that I think about it more, that's probably where it's changed the most because I do feel like it was always very accessible. The
Yep.
players were accessible, everything. This is the first time where now they have tiered media. So they have tier one and tier two. And
Yes.
if you're in tier two, you don't have the same level of access to the players.
Yep.
You just don't have the same level of access, period. And that's a huge difference for a league that used to be so accessible. I mean, I talked to Angel Reese last season. This year, I probably wouldn't get as close to Angel Reese because
Yeah.
of how the policies have changed. So that's probably the league that has had the most shift now that I actually talk through
Yeah.
it.
I no, I no, I agree 100% with that because, like you said, again, a couple years ago with the WNBA, you said we had got access, we got a lot of access, and I know that was said the new wave. With the Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark wave came in, and the Paige Beckers wave came in. So now, as you said, it is harder to. That's where the shift is, and they you said they have been fighting for access for or media coverage for a long time, and now that they have it and they got it, now they have that tier one, tier two, so they're a little bit more strict of who gets access to, you said, especially directly to the players.
Yeah.
You definitely see the shift because, as I said, when I was able to get to the draft a couple of years ago, had access. The last couple of years, it's been harder to get that access,
Yes,
at
it
least
has.
with players, or they turn down your media credential, access, or deny it or whatever. Which it happens and everything too, but it has shifted even more towards, as you said, I guess national media for one,
Yes. And that's
and
the unfortunate piece. I do
yes,
want to say that.
yes,
That's
yes,
the unfortunate piece because
hmm
I feel like all these years when the WNBA wanted coverage, it was the smaller outlets that were
yep,
showing up. It was the
yep,
independent outlets that was showing up. The
hmm
national media didn't want much to do with the WNBA. But
exactly,
now that they've gotten bigger and they, have more TV deals and the league is shifting and, just becoming more comparable to the other leagues, those outlets that have been there are now the ones that are suffering from the less access.
yeah,
And it's the national media that's getting that access, the tier one access,
yep.
when they're just kind of coming in and riding the wave.
Yeah, agreed. That yes, actually, we've seen it. Yeah, we definitely have seen it when it comes to that. And also, I think they're looking at content creators and influencers who have, say, 500,000 followers or more.
Yeah.
They're getting access. But when you have, when who've covered it for a long time, or talked about it and things like that on a podcast with Double Take Sports, as you said, and you've been out there, boots on the ground, and then covering these games and things like that, we're not getting that same, even for a Zoom. It's hard to even get that anymore. I hardly ever get the Zoom links anymore.
Oh
So,
yeah, yeah,
y-
that's true.
so though even that, like I said, 2-3 years ago, they was just letting us get
Yeah, they were
Zoom
sending those
interview. Yeah,
links out to
give
everybody.
us the link, and then here, I think I got the link the beginning of the season when they let us talk to coaches and the players at that time. And then ever since then, you know, sparingly I get a pop up and it's like, oh yeah, so I don't even know what tier I am even in or whatever. And so I mean, I get it. Like, you want the national media to get that coverage, and they got more pull and more eyes on them. So I get that. But as you said, outlets like ourselves and yourself, you can we've been there. So I think they should let us, you know, both have that type of access at the very least, and see where it goes. Because the more access you get, the more stories we can tell from the W, and they'll get the more access to cover them as
Agreed.
well. You know,
I
so
agree with that. Yep.
all right. Well, last one before I let you go. You said you've been Double Take Sports doing big things with that as well. But I want to ask you about your connection in golf. I love
Mhm.
what you said on Twitter. You said I've been connected with golf for a long time, way before you was a journalist. And you said
Yes.
you work. You said you do PR,
Mhm.
events and things like that, communications. Talk about that. And I saw that you had an interview about the representation matters in golf. Talk about that, your access to golf and where it came from, and talk about the representation in golf as well.
Yeah, I thought that was just really important for me to
Hmm.
share because,
Yes.
I mean, some people have a passion for golf and there's nothing wrong with that. But I think I wanted to make it clear that I am approaching this from a space of someone who is very familiar
Yeah.
with industry itself. I first job out of college. Now, this was probably a blessing in disguise, but I wanted to work in sports, but obviously I wanted like the football or something like that.
Yeah.
But the job I ended up getting was in golf with the First Tee, which has the headquarters is in St. Augustine, Florida, and I'm from Florida if I didn't say that already.
Yep.
And they have chapters nationwide, and they're still going to this day. But like that particular job was my introduction to golf, and that is kind of where I saw that there is a diversity that exists. Now it's still got a long way to go, but there's a diversity that exists, and there were so many women of color, men of color
Mm,
behind the scenes
yeah.
doing so much, whether that was teaching the kids, whether they were PGA pros. And that kind of was something that stood out to me because on the outside of golf, all I saw was, like the PGA tour, which is, you don't see many black men on that
Yeah.
tour, LPGA tour. I just did a interview with a young lady who is on a journey to make it to the LPGA, but they've only had 8 black women on the tour in their entire
Mm,
history,
yeah.
right?
Yep.
So anyway, that kind of spoke to me back when I worked in golf. But from there, I was connected to golf in many other ways through my PR career. I did like golf marketing and advertising for the courses in Florida, amongst other attractions. And also, I've done golf events. And so my connection to golf continued even after I left that job. And I always knew that when I started Double Take Sports, I wanted to make a space for golf
Mm,
so that I could tell more of the stories and highlight particularly Black young men and women in the sport, and just tell a variety of stories about golf from my vantage point and from what I had seen in my experience.
I love that, and it just, as you said, it highlights, and like you said, representation in golf is, as we know, as you talked about, it's when you turn on TV and at the PGA Tour, if it's Live Golf, the LPGA, you don't see that representation enough.
Correct.
And it's good that you're highlighting that, and saying, hey, from your vantage point, I want there are a lot of black and brown golfers.
Mhm.
I mean, just in general, and just to see, because I there's a lot of golf content creators that
Yes.
and
Way
just to see,
different from
yes, yes, for sure.
from back in the
And I
day.
love that you're having those conversations, and everything too. So when I saw the video on YouTube, and the interview you did, and it was tremendous. And it was good to see that representation being spotlighted with which it needs, and I think
Mhm.
if you keep pushing down those doors and and everything, it'll get people talking, to get people to listen
Yeah.
as well. So I give major props again for that storytelling on that. I think it's needed, it's necessary, and I can't wait to see more of that. And you said you're definitely said I'm more familiar than of golf in
Yeah.
general. Hey, don't get it twisted. I'm a journalist, and I can, even if I can get this story and get people talking and get the story told the way it should need it to be. So don't get it twisted. But I've done events. I've done all these things,
Mm.
So another great thing that you're doing with the storytelling on that as well. So appreciate that, you sharing. All right, the last one is like, what is next for Carita this upcoming season? You said you talked about some of the all the things you got going on in football and NBA, WNBA, but what else do you have that you can announce that you have going on? Any last words for your for this episode?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, I to your point, we talked about some of the teams I cover, so that's
Yeah,
obviously coming up. But I think I'm just wanting to stretch myself a little more in the storytelling lane, which I have been doing with the golf, like bringing that to light, and I want to continue to do that.
yeah,
But also, tell some more stories that are different from golf and just really kind of put myself in that realm at this point because I do feel like there's a lot of good stories to tell. And I think what most people have seen from me over the years is either my writing or my actual like on-site reporting, but you don't always get to see me in that seat of interviewer telling stories and things
yeah.
like that. So that's really where I feel like I should say that's the next step for me, I think, and what I want to focus more on as we kind of close out 2026 and go into 2027.
I like that. I love it. Looking forward to, like you said, looking forward to all the coverage, the reporting, the storytelling, all things you do. Like I said, incredible work that you do, as always. Appreciate the time, all and catching up with you as well. Like I said, I know it's been a couple of years, but so glad to have you on. So glad to spotlight you, highlight what you're
Right.
doing in this space. So continued success, many blessings moving forward. Just looking forward to all the things you got coming up as well. So thanks a lot for the time, Carita, and
Thank you.
appreciate you. And follow Carita on all those platforms at Carita C Parks, Double Take Sports as well. So I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, you have a good one,
You too.
and enjoy the season as well.
Thank you. And you have a good one as well.
All right, thanks a
Keep
lot.
doing what you're doing.
All right, appreciate it. Thanks a
Mhm.
lot. Talk to you
Bye.
soon. Bye.